Welcome. Today we're diving into a major leadership taboo, one that can literally cause chaos in your own ranks. And we're going to use the timeless wisdom of Sun Tzu's Art of War to figure it out.
So let's start with a big question, one that every single leader has to wrestle with. How do you stay in control without accidentally destroying the very talent you need to actually succeed? It's this incredibly delicate balance, right? You absolutely have to be in control, but if you grip those reins too tightly, you just end up strangling your best people. And that leads to disaster. And hey, this isn't some new business school problem. This is a challenge that's been around for 2,500 years. Okay, so let's go back to ancient China. As professional military commanders started to become a thing, rulers suddenly had this brand new fear. They had to give their generals enough power to win wars, sure, but not so much power that the general could turn around and rebel. This created this deep internal conflict for rulers. The desperate need for victory was constantly clashing with the paralyzing fear of losing power. And this is a tension that Sun Tzu saw playing out firsthand. So how does this fear actually cause problems? Well, Sun Tzu was paying attention. He identified 3 very specific ways a leader's obsession with control can totally backfire, creating chaos and basically inviting defeat.
He laid it out plain and simple, warning that the biggest threat to your army, to your team, often doesn't come from the enemy, it comes from your own leadership. First up, what he called binding the army. This is your classic remote control leadership, right? The ruler is back in the palace, completely clueless about the mud and the blood of the battlefield, ordering an advance when it's impossible, or a retreat when victory is just within reach. It's like tying your general's hands behind their back. The second one, confusing the army. This happens when you try to apply civilian rules to a military organization. The entire game changes. It creates total confusion and uncertainty because the people on the ground no longer know how they're supposed to operate. And number 3 is doubting the army. This is when a leader just doesn't trust their expert's judgment. They jump in, start meddling with tactical decisions, and the result? It completely shatters the confidence of the entire army from top to bottom. And what's the bottom line of all this meddling? Sun Tzu's point is brutally clear. When an army is confused and doubtful, its fighting spirit just collapses. You're not just risking defeat, you're practically handing victory over to the other side. So that's the theory. Now let's look at a real historical case where these exact warnings were ignored, and the results? Well, they were an absolute catastrophe. Let's talk about the Song dynasty. See, the emperors were terrified of a military coup. After all, that's how their own dynasty came to power. So they created this incredibly strict policy of controlling their generals from the capital. And just look at the fallout from this micromanagement. The emperor himself was drawing up battle plans. Generals had to follow these plans to the letter, no exceptions. They even had political officials sent out to watch their every move. Get this, if you won a battle by disobeying the plan, you could still be punished. It completely destroyed any sense of flexibility or initiative, and the result was just one humiliating military defeat after another. Okay, so that's what not to do. Now let's flip the script and look at a leader who did the exact opposite. Someone who really understood the power of trust, Mao Zedong, and his relationship with his top general, Su Yu. In 3 of the most critical make-or-break campaigns of the Chinese Civil War, Mao did something revolutionary. He did the exact opposite of the Song emperors. He repeatedly and deliberately gave Su Yu the final say. During the Menglianggu campaign, Su Yu came up with this really daring, high-risk plan. Mao's response wasn't to pull back the reins. It was to empower him, telling him, basically, you decide. You're there on the ground. We will not control you from afar.
And we see it again, even more clearly, during the Yudong campaign. Mao gave Su Yu explicit permission to change the entire strategy without even asking for approval first. In tense situations, act independently. I mean, wow, that is some serious trust.
Then, right before the huge, decisive Huaihai campaign, Mao reinforced this trust yet again. He told Su Yu to just execute the plan and only report back every few days. This is the very essence of what we'd call strategic trust. So, what's the big takeaway here, looking at these 2 totally opposite examples? Well, it's a lesson that goes way beyond the battlefield. It applies to any leader, anywhere. The comparison couldn't be more stark, could it? One leadership model, remote control, it breeds mistrust and failure. The other, strategic trust, fosters initiative, flexibility, and ultimately, success.
Now, this doesn't mean a leader should just walk away. Sun Tzu's idea of the general as an auxiliary of the state describes the perfect balance. It's about alignment on the big picture strategy, the what, but complete autonomy on the tactics, the how. And what's amazing is that this ancient idea is really the foundation of modern leadership. Peter Drucker's famous management by objectives, it's the same core principle. Agree on the goals, then trust your experts to figure out the best way to get there.
Which leaves us with one final thought, a question every leader should probably ask themselves. Are you truly leading your team, or are you just holding the reins so tightly that nobody can move? Because at the end of the day, real leadership isn't about controlling every single move. It's about empowering your talent to win.